All right. Well, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited to see you all here. We'll see if we get some more people rolling on in, but I definitely want to get started to make the use of our time. So my name is Amelia Marie Altstadt. I am the honors coordinator at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and today I'll be talking about college-powered after-school service learning, the impact and implementation. I did recognize one name on the virtual account. I will say if you are already working with our program, this might reiterate some of our information, but you will learn a little bit more about the impacts that we did as part of our program evaluation. Come on in, come on in. So in my role, I do a lot of different things. I do advising, I do teaching, but most importantly for this presentation, I do the Honors Afterschool Clubs. So today we're going to cover first the resources, so you can get that in your hot little hands right away. I'm going to be sharing the university perspective. What is service learning? University honors program, the history of Honors Afterschool Clubs, the challenges with Honors Afterschool Clubs, implementation, best practices for Honors Afterschool Clubs, what the program is now, and how to approach a 4-year or 2-year with this program. And then, of course, time for questions. So if you want to get started, you can scan that QR code. It'll take you to a lovely Google document with some of the resources. This is so that if you do feel inspired to sort of have this program, that you have some resources to take with you to say, hey, these things have already been built. I just need someone to work with me on them, along with some wonderful pictures from real Honors Afterschool Clubs that happened this past semester, covering math club, Spanish cultural club, a D&D club, a mythology club, as well as a health and nutrition club. And if you didn't get it now, don't worry, it'll pop up again at the very end. So first, what is the university perspective on after school service learning, things like that? The first thing that I want to say is universities want what you have to offer. Sometimes just the disconnect is you don't have the language to talk to them. They maybe don't have the setup. So this is all about, they want those experiential learning opportunities. They want opportunities for their students to engage in diversity and inclusion efforts. They want to engage in the community, and they want their students to develop themselves both professionally and personally. So these are all things that students, they want them to have, and you can offer those experiences. So what's the definition of service learning? Well, service learning from Kezard and Rhodes, and I forgot to put the year in there, so I'll go put that in later. It centers around these concepts of body, mind, spirit, experience, and knowledge. So taking all of those experiences in together, that's what service learning is. It facilitates learning through serving community and reflection. That reflection is going to be an incredible piece of work. It's also reflection and reciprocity. So not only are they giving to the community, but they're receiving something back. And service learning for college students is often offered for college credit. These are all things that kind of differentiate service learning from volunteering. So even though volunteering can be deep engagement, it is a different definition from service learning. So the University Honors Program at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, you should know that our student population is high achieving students, and they usually come in, because this is something that we ask of them, to have community involvement and leadership. But the overarching goal is to serve the community. And even though this is called Honors Afterschool Clubs, we have plenty of students that are involved in this that aren't at all part of honors. Because the goal, again, is to serve the community. So this is really transferable. If you have students somewhere, you can utilize this program. They don't need to be in the honors program. You don't need to have access to an honors program. So the history of the program is that this was founded as a volunteering opportunity in 2018. That's important to note. We partnered with Beyond School Bells as well as Lincoln's Community Learning Centers, and it solely matched college students with these CLCs, didn't go any further than that. This program also focuses on the low-income, high-needs schools and utilizes reliable honors students to lead them. So it just started with the honors students, just started as a matching program. So some of the challenges that we have overarchingly with the Honors Afterschool Clubs are, one, turnover of the directors of the sites that we help serve. Another one is a later academic calendar on the academic side. So for us, our students at University of Nebraska-Lincoln, they start in late August. Usually start a little bit earlier in the K through 12 system. So there's usually a mismatch between when you need students and when our students are actually checking their emails. Business procedures. So not quite understanding the differences between different organizations serving the community or what is needed in order to streamline those processes. Retention. So some of it is the retention of information, retention of the site directors, as well as the retention of students in general, and hard to reach via email. Those of you that are at sites, you're almost never sitting down. So that's a few of our challenges with Honors Afterschool Clubs. So how do we go beyond that to implementation? Some of the things that we consider are we need a permanent staff member to coordinate this, because we tried it. We tried it with a graduate student. What we learned was it's probably better in the hands of somebody with some longevity. It doesn't need to be a full-time staff member, though. I want to make that clear. It just needs to be a permanent person that's been there. You can develop long-term relationships with the department or program at a community college, university, as well as with those local community organizations, and go beyond your email. Go beyond the email. Now I ask for phone numbers because it's more likely for me to pick up the phone and call someone and have them answer because they have 5 minutes in between their next crisis. We provide training on curriculum and behavior management. So we're going beyond just the matching, and we are providing that basis of training. And then of course they get additional training at the sites. And we use a paperless network. So this is part of that business procedures. So even though there are struggles with email, it's really easier for our college students to handle everything online than having to go print something. How many college students have access to printers these days? Not a lot of them. So figuring out ways to make it more digital is important. For us, also the additional part beyond going matching is to have the accountability and the reflections built into the process. Now, you don't need the 0 credit hour course that I'm going to talk about later on. You can build this into your programming at the site. So even if you don't have that part of this program, that's fine. And also pay the college students. Part of the retention portion as well is when it was a volunteer opportunity, they could just drop off. There's no accountability, no paperwork, no investment. They had some, but it was easier to back away. Now, if you pay them, it's easier to provide transportation. It's easier to get there. It's easier to be like, well, I can't really back out. They hired me. So what is the program now? I mentioned a couple things. Well, we provide ongoing support to club leaders from our side. So you have a friend at the university. More than 150 college students have participated and been supported in this program from January 2021 to December 2021. Now, this is important to note because the course didn't exist before that, so we lost track of some of the people. We now not only match, but we recruit for this opportunity and the providing of training. They can obtain honors credit for participating by enrolling in our reflective course. So they're actively engaging in what they're doing. And we serve K through 12 youth. So it's kind of haphazard there for a little bit, but we have programming from K through 2 dance clubs to now Activate programming, which is ACT prep. So the club structure, when we're thinking about how we structured this from just a matching thing, was now they have a time commitment of at least 36 hours per semester. So that's about 3 hours of work a week. So up to 2 hours to prep for their club, because you need that lesson planning time, and 1 hour to actually teach it. Now, this varies from site to site, and they could take more time, but we're only saying that you can be paid for 2 hours, essentially. It's an 8 to 12 week commitment. You can mess around with that number a little bit, but we want to make sure it's a long-term commitment, and we're on a semester schedule. They develop their own curriculum. So even though they can steal from all these wonderful programs and curriculums that we have, in fact, we have our own repository, which if you downloaded the resources already, the link is on there to that, and anybody can use that. They're encouraged to develop their curriculum and make improvements on it, because that's how you get additional investment from the students. They're placed in pairs. So we very, very rarely send out a student on their own, because this encourages collaboration. It encourages retention, because if you have someone saying, hey, do you want to go to club this week? Yeah, I guess we should. Or if someone gets sick, you always have at least one person to lead. Somebody's car breaks down, oh, I'll pick you up instead, for all of those reasons. Also, so that you have the added reliability of having 2 people in a classroom with a bunch of kids. It's usually the 1 hour long sessions once a week. And then throughout the process, we have that 1 pre-training session and 2 check-ins over the course of the semester. So they actually come in and talk with me. So I can help them with curriculum planning. I can see what's happening. Maybe they haven't gotten paid yet. I should probably know that sooner, because it's usually because you all aren't sitting down. You're actually working with the kids. So I can help facilitate that and make sure that they're engaging professionally. And then, of course, that active reflection once again. And they're really good at being adaptable. So the picture that you're seeing right now on the screen is of a group of students and one of our club leaders for the math club. They didn't have a classroom that day because the musical was rehearsing there, and they were put into the gym instead. So they're very flexible, and they worked with what they had. So overall, since 2018, we have 90 clubs published on the UNL Digital Commons for free use. It's been downloaded all over the world. I'll show you on the next slide. We've approximated that we've served over 1,000 youth through these clubs. And just for clarity, I'm using youth for the students in the schools, and college students or scholars for the college students. And there's a heavy STEM focus. This is not something that we necessarily ask for. This is what our college students are offering, which is something that you all need. So it works out because these students want to give their expertise. In fall 2022 now, we have the adapted ACT prep, which we did previously in like a boot camp format or virtually online. And now we're putting it into a clubs format, so more longevity. We have 25 students to serve 11 sites. This has been higher in the past, but it's usually at least 10 clubs. And the club offerings this semester range from bug club to STEM club to textile arts, sustainability, club disco, Spanish cultural club. The Spanish cultural club is actually taught by 2 Spanish speakers, and one is a native Spanish speaker. So, it's bringing that expertise into the community. So this is a map of all the places this has been downloaded. I literally put this in yesterday, so it's the most updated. So these downloads in the past year, over 4,000, getting to 9,300 total downloads of all these papers. And they're downloaded across the world. You can do it as much as you want and steal. And importantly, these are where those reflections go that they're doing. So they're reflecting on the activities as well. It's not just what the activity is. Did it work? Would they suggest it again? How would they tweak it in the future? So as we talked all about that, I hope that you're thinking about, hey, I don't have that in my community yet. I'd really like it. So I am going to give you some things that come directly from the program evaluation. It's of the same name, college-powered after-school club service learning. That's been accepted to a journal of higher education outreach. These are the findings that we had, and these are the things that you can use to approach those universities, those colleges, or those two-year institutions, because remember, they already want what you have. You just need to know what to say to them in order for them to give you the college students that you need, right? For them to invest the time and labor in order to get those students out to your communities. So here's the brief overview, and then I'll go more in depth. So there's general learning, skill development, mental health, career confidence, awareness of diversity and inequality, and then overcoming those challenges. So these are the 6 things that if you approached a 4-year or a 2-year with and said, hey, I have this really cool opportunity for your students to get all of these things out of one experience, that's a huge selling point, right? That's a huge selling point to say, hey, you should get one of your staff members to do this for us and work with us to get this program going. So a little bit more in depth, and you can also go back to these on the presentation. They're available on the resource document. So general learning happens with making lesson plans, classroom management, interpersonal skills. Problem solving is an inherently needed skill when you're working with kids, right? And they get to feel part of the community. So this all comes from the program evaluation we did. So they're all anonymized quotes. But a lot of these students come from places other than Lincoln, Nebraska. I myself am from San Diego, California. And they often don't view Lincoln as a diverse place it is. So this is a way for them to get more involved in the community, get hands-on. So what is important to keep in mind during this experience is that you are in this position because you care for your students, your subject, and for your own personal growth. Hands-on experiences like this are hard to come by. And while it is ideal to have everything go according to plan, learning to roll with the punches is just as valuable a skill. Skill development. So they learned interpersonal skills, just how to work. Sometimes this was their first job. They had never had employment before. The most reported skills they developed, shocking to anybody that works with kids, were patience, adaptability, flexibility, all those things to think on your feet. They felt that their public speaking was improved by this experience. And they also reported their performance at UNL improved. And we'll go through that with the mental health thing because that's part of it. So above all, I learned how to be patient. Working with these kids was an exercise in taking deep breaths and remaining calm in the face of chaos. One quote that's not in here, but I did love from a different reflection is, never give 3 to 5 graders sequence. So for mental health, 95% of the students we surveyed, it's about 36 students for this semester in fall 2021, said the experience helped them with their mental health because this was viewed as a break from the stressors of academia. So it gives that escape. It gets them actually off of campus, which is really important if you want students to stay at the university. And it lets students present their own ideas. They get to be proud of what they've learned, whether they're doing something related to their major or whether they're doing something that they gained at home. So leading the club allows me to have fun and remember how much I love sciences and why I decided to study science for my degree. Dealing with the difficult science courses at the university and attending lectures had made me lose interest in the science field. But seeing how fun it can be for children has reminded me why I chose what I chose. Which leads straight into career confidence. So anybody that was already planning on working with kids, they were just like, okay, I can handle this. That's good. Especially important because a lot of the students that were involved are first and second years. If they were planning to go work with kids or go into education, be a teacher, that student teaching comes in like the last year. So this is an opportunity to try out a different age group, as many as you want, over the course of a few semesters. Most students had no experience prior to working with children. And although many students did not feel the urge to change their career plans, they felt confident working with children after this. So those who planned on going into the medical field, they were just like, yeah, maybe I could be a pediatrician. Or, yeah, well, now I won't freak out if a kid does walk into my room. So also, this was very helpful in getting me out of the world of technical jargon and everyone having the same interests. And it got me a very real world experience working on the environment. Awareness of diversity and inequality. The community is very diverse, and kids within the same school experience a lot of different things. So it made me realize to be more conscientious of others' experiences and backgrounds before forming an opinion. And this was really important because honor students reported that the youth did not seem to notice the diversity because we teach difference. And they didn't see that reflected in their youth. They didn't see students treating each other differently. And honor students remarked that their youth said that they were the only college student they had ever met. So not only did this help our students figure out how diverse our communities are, but it also introduced college in a very enthusiastic, awesome way with their near peers to the students in your after-school programs. And then overcoming challenges. So working in pairs helped students resolve conflicts because, if a student is acting up for whatever reason, well, then you have one person to take them aside and the other person to continue the lesson, continue working with students. That helps. It was usually related to classroom management or other behavioral issues. So we've added in portions of trauma-informed training now to help deal with those things, but they also had the structure of the overall after-school programs to help them as well. And almost all the students, if they had time, indicated that they wanted to participate in after-school clubs in the future. Now, some of them don't come back, but some of them do it for the full year. They'll stay at the same school, or maybe they'll try a different age group. So this quote, I think, is incredibly important. The children are worthy of all the attention they receive, and they are capable of achieving great things. So with all of that evidence to present to your community, maybe you even want to go beyond the college level and bring this to a local high school. You have the power and evidence to say, hey, university, hey, school, you should do this program with me. And that'll help solve some of your staffing issues, maybe not completely, but at least you'll get some energetic college students, some energetic youth together and learning together. So thank you for listening. And then we have a bunch of time to come around and discuss, and hopefully you can all group together a little bit more about how would this look for you? Because this is how it looks in Lincoln, Nebraska. But every single area is different. So let's talk about it. Let's use this time to develop these ideas. And can you share the link to the lessons? Yes, it was on here. Let me just go get it. So if you go to this link, go.unl.edu at HAC Get Connected 22, it'll take you to this resource document with all the links. All right. What questions do people have?
So I have Hastings College, and they work with me to send me service learning students but they don't have to like do anything. They don't have to come up with a curriculum. How could I like get them on board with that as well?
For Hastings in particular, because I'm kind of familiar with them, I would say just ask, hey, I heard of this really cool program that they do at UNL Honors where they come up with their own stuff. And Hastings is such a cool college that does so many different things. Maybe your students would feel comfortable coming up with their own curriculum. And then we already have resources, right? So you could develop resources with Beyond School Bells to give that training. Sandy Day has been a great help giving some of that curriculum training. And then maybe have a local person to do trauma-informed training or something similar. What other questions? And then I will go into our small groups and talk about how this could be a possibility. All right. Okay, clump together. Everybody's so separated, clump together. For those of you that are virtual, I'm gonna figure out how to do small breakout groups on this little thing, hopefully. So your question to start off with is, how would you interact as a mentor with these college students? What impact would that have? I'm sorry for our virtual people. I'm still trying to figure this out. All right, folks online, I can't figure out how to get you into breakout groups. So please chat amongst yourselves. You can unmute and that'll be totally fine.
Recording in progress.
Sorry about that, online people.
Okay.
Okay, so turns out online people, I can't do breakout rooms. I'm so sorry. So virtual participants, if you could just put into the chat, how would you engage in mentorship with these college students? You did that in previous sessions? Okay.
Yes, we did that in the previous sessions, the breakout sessions. I don't know why it's not working with this.
They said I need a second computer.
Oh,
I know. I wasn't warned. So with all of the groups out here, it seems like conversation has come to a natural end for that first question. So who wants to share out? Oh, look, everybody's tired. They all drove in. It's okay. I'm just looking for 2 responses.
Okay, so with my program, it's hard for me to have college students because we're 45 minutes from on either side of a college. So, but in the summertime, this last summer, I had 4 different college students that contacted me that wanted to work in our program. So that was great because we need that many more in the summer anyway. And they were with UNL. And so, so that was good. And 2 of them were actually triplets. So part of triplets, and then their sister was working in a bank. But it was cool because they contacted me. Their parents are both in education and they were kind of going into the same. So that worked out good. But during the school year, it's hard for us, because we have a lot more of the high school kids that help, but it's hard for us to get college students because of the, how close we are to any college. So.
Yeah, that would be difficult. But we can help on that front to make it a little bit more explicit. If you want to contact me, we could reach out to, where are you specifically from? Cozad. We could specifically reach out and see which students are listed as being from there, and target some outreach. And at least get you for winter or for summer, all that fun stuff. And I would also recommend reaching out to other places. Maybe I can't facilitate that, but another college may be able to. What about one from over here? Oh my gosh, everybody's so tired. It's fine. I'm only making you share out once. Just give me one more.
What was the question that you had?
It's about mentorship. But what do you need?
Well, like I was explaining to them, we do have college workers in our program in Schuyler, and we have 4 college workers from CCC in Columbus. And so I guess part of the problem is the same, is getting CCC is about 30 minutes from our school. So the traveling is something that doesn't work well for them. And then also the pay around where McDonald's and Walmart are paying like $5 extra than what we are. So that's something that we're struggling with too. But luckily, CCC and Columbus are doing a part-time job fair that we're planning on attending. So hopefully we can get some people through there. But with the college workers that we have now, they're great. They do their own lesson plans. The kids love them. And so I'm really happy to have college workers in our program.
Thank you. Yes, that pay thing is difficult. What we have done, we've had a separate program. So Honors Afterschool Clubs has been around longer than Halo, but Halo is a specifically grant-funded program. So we have in previous summers in Lincoln, as well as around the state of Nebraska, been able to pay students to be in their hometowns, in their areas. And this is also really good. We have also found it to be an easier way to get international students into the community, because if it's grant funded and it's through our department, we're able to pay international students without going through internship programs, OPT, things like that. So that's a really great way to get students that usually would not be able to work off campus, get work on off campus. And they need those experiences, right? And we're able to offer some more depending on grant funding. And our grant funding came by the way of Beyond School Bells. So it is certainly possible to try to offer more or try to offer competing. But I would say that the reason that our students do this is not always because of the pay. So you have to really drive home the benefits, the ones that I listed, if you're trying to recruit college students on your own or within programs or universities, as well as this purpose-driven aspect of wanting to give back. This is meaningful work. It's not shelving at Target or Walmart. So it's engaging mentally. So not to denigrate Target or Walmart work, but it doesn't necessarily have the same engagement with students. Plus they gain experience. Yes, that's absolutely true. And for our model in particular, if they're not international students and they're not hired through the university, they're actually hired by your organization, either by contract or actual hiring. It depends on the different organizations. So they have a real organization to put on there as well. So with the remaining time, I'm going to see if anybody chatted over here. No, but I'm just going to go through what resources are on this document. I took the time to put this together. So I want to show you a little bit about this, and I'm pivoting because y'all don't want to talk because you're tired. So I guess I'll just explain what's on here. So first of all, you can make a copy of this file, do it up yourself, all that fun stuff as you get things together. Has my contact information, both on my social media as well as my email. You want to actually chat with me about this when you're not tired after a full day of programming, please make an appointment with me. I'd love to talk to you about the successes of our programs and how we utilize them. This will be the citation when that article is eventually published. Today's PowerPoint presentation is right here. So it's a similar link, but just with Prez at the end. So you have all the information that's on those slides as well. So what I want to show you is the cool thing of all these forms. So the form for collecting site information from partners, the way that I have it set up is with forms on Office, because you can automatically duplicate it. So I like Microsoft Forms because UNL is an Outlook university. So this makes it really easy to collect students' emails if they're already logged into their Husker account, which is why I use it. If Google works better for you, that's fine. I just wanted to make it easy for you to actually duplicate this rather than having to copy paste everything. So this is the exact form that I send out, and it includes everything that I need from you. Everything. So I've worked on it over the past year. So what I learned, first, I need that phone number. I need it. Secondary contacts, if you're not there. What the school site is, what's the mascot? Those are things that I need to know so that I can develop advertisements. Club times, other club times. Do you run morning programming? Do you run Saturday programming sometimes? You can put that in there too. Our students love alternatives. What days of the week? Usually just list the Monday through Friday after school club programming. How many are run? Something that I run into because we're on a semester schedule and some schools are on a quarter schedule is if I get to those clubs too late, well, the next quarter doesn't start until October. And that's hard with retention for students because they don't really want to wait that long to get started. They get busy and they get overwhelmed. How many clubs do you run? How many clubs do you want to have matched to your site? It depends on the year and the availability of the students. If I can match 3 sites to one area, or if I'm trying to match 1 club to each site, it really depends on, number 1, the availability of those college students, and 2, the preferences of the site. So I'll show you that in a little bit. What's the compensation that you can offer? If it's nothing, ask the university if they have funding in order to pay those students to do experiential learning opportunities. That is the key term, experiential learning opportunities. What's the club start date? What's the club end date? What do you require before beginning an after school club? This is from experience. I did not initially ask that question. I matched clubs and they were just like, we can't get started for another 3 weeks. And I was like, ooh, I probably should have known that beforehand. I'm so sorry. So now I asked that question. Any other requirements? How long does it take to process the requirements? So if you list that things take 4 weeks, I'm probably going to try to match your site first. Rate your club priorities. So this is where you say, I have plenty of STEM clubs. I don't need any more STEM clubs. Or I really need some arts clubs. What supplies do you have? So if you have iPads, that's great. Maybe I could match a beat making club there to reference what Rebel Mill does. Any other notes? Any exceptions? And then you submit it. And then what I do with that information is I'll plug it into this template. So site availability. Let's see if I can balance myself. So we have Mix Arbor from the Nebraskans for Nebraska Day School. I have all their contact information all together. They're at Husker Elementary. They're the Bug Eaters. They meet from 3:38 to 5 p.m. They told me what days of the week that they want school on. Told me how much they could pay. Told me that everything's very desired. And they have Chromebooks and there's no clubs on professional development days. So when that happens, I also have a form for collecting student availability. I won't go through that one in that much detail, but it gets plugged in to the student availability tab. So I have Herbie Husker and Little Red. They decided they wanted to be partners for their club. This is an important thing to ask. What is their transportation to the site? A couple people mentioned you're 45 minutes out. You're 30 minutes out. They probably need a car if you don't have reliable public transportation. And it's good to know on the university side, if you're doing the matching, where do those bus routes lead? Because the closest elementary school might not actually be the most accessible via bus. So I've looked into that for Lincoln, Nebraska, and that informs where I match people. And I asked them each to put in their availability separately because sometimes they don't always talk to each other. So with this, I discovered that they're actually both only available on Mondays and that they submitted their MOU. That's important. They also submit a form on their interest. So I learned that they're both sports management majors. They prefer K through 2. They told me who their partner is, and they listed what is the idea for the club. They don't need to have the curriculum all put together immediately. That's never been the case, because you know who's also winging lessons week by week? But we help them go through that. So Go Big Red is a club about all the exciting ways Nebraskans and Huskers have changed the world. We'll cover impacts from our famous Husker football players to the invention of the McRib. So, you know, those are things that they could bring. That's an idea. And which term, and we might have conflicts for travel due to game days out of state. Totally possible for them. So anything else we need to know. So with all of that, they have been matched to Husker Elementary School from 3:38 to 5 p.m. They had that availability. And then I just list where they've been matched to kind of keep track of things. Now, this is where we have the Canvas. So I mentioned that 0 credit hour class. This is that. This is where they do their reflections. So you could do this outside of Canvas. You can do this in one-on-one conversations with them. Doesn't matter how you do this, as long as they're engaging in that reflection so that they're learning from this opportunity. They're not just doing it. So it's gone through a few iterations, but for us, we do everything from the pre-experience survey to where they submit their clubs. And I have a link to their ongoing lesson plans. So what you should check out regardless of anything else on this page, is our digital repository, because this is a real thing, not just me making up names of club partners for examples. This is their page full of expanded learning clubs. This is what they submit at the end of their experience to get that credit. They've done all the work. Now it's just about getting that credit. See, it has gone over 9,300 now. So if you scroll down, there's a list of all the kinds of different clubs that have been listed. Here's an entrepreneurship club, how to sell a dinosaur. So you'll open up one of those pages. You'll scroll down. Sometimes they have a detailed abstract. Click the download button, it'll open for you. And then you can read through and see all the fun things that they did over the course of the semester. So this is how it looks. Anybody can use this. What's the name of the club? What's the age grade level this was designed for? Number of attendees. So they had 15 in their club. We have an average of about 10 in each club. And what kind of content areas does it cover? So they did an activity, simple introduction activity. Now, if we go further down into the more fun stuff, here we go. Show them different examples of board games that failed and games that succeeded. Discuss what made them more popular. So they're discussing what's to do with marketing. Is it the product or is it the marketing? And then they play through. They concluded with a vote, parts of the activity that worked. Examples and games worked well. Parts of the activity that did not work. Ensure the games are in a safe place. Someone took one of the students' game boards. So they learned from that experience so that somebody else reading this can be like, oh yeah, that's something I should keep in mind. So that's just one example of the 90 different clubs that we have on here. All sorts of different experiences. And then in our coursework, we also have all these awesome resources from Beyond School Bells, the Mizzen app, previous recordings of their trainings, things like that. So are there any questions on this front before we close out for the day and we get to go to the fun stuff like the ice cream social and the board games?